Ooh. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And we have with us Tom ALTHOUSE. Welcome to our first Solutions channel, Tom. How are you?
Thank you. I'm honored. This is great. I love it. I love the way your scarf matches the painting too. It's just really, really cool.
I know, it was so funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? But you know, purple's my color and always has been. I'll always be wearing purple hats and things. So I love it because I read somewhere purple is the color of God. Makes well, you know, when we're looking at Eastern philosophies as well, and well, the crown chakra is pretty much well, it's violet, gold, and white, and the third eye would be indigo, which is also purpley, dark purple.
Mm-hmm.
So the crown chakra, the main color would be the violet, which is the purple. So that really is kind of like the voice of God speaking, you know. It's just a beautiful, I love it. I have loved purple since I've been in the womb. Definitely. I remember.
So cool. My grandmother's name was Violet.
Oh, wow. You
Yeah.
see?
Sync ups, a lot of sync ups. Yeah.
And now, since we're talking about the elderly today as well, your grandma comes into it, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm loving the topic of our conversation today, because it really is, I think, such an important one. About the value of the elderly, our grandparents, taking care of old people, enjoying them, because I think old people have so much wisdom, you know, share, and many of them are kind of locked away and shut away in old age homes or these fancy retreats nowadays that people put their elderly parents into. So I don't know. Wonderful. Let's hear what you have to say about that, Tom. How do you feel about?
It's been a topic on my heart since I was tiny. My one grandmother actually died in my arms. She died in our home when I was a young person, and I was the last one with her as she died. And they told me that she couldn't hear anything, that she was out of it, listless, whatever. But I saw the tear come down her cheek when I was talking to her. And it seemed like it was such a moment. It felt like it felt her presence. But for me, even in the screenplay I wrote, The Immortals, I wanted to lift the elderly and have them looked at a different way. I saw around me that society seemed to be, by and large, discarding them, generally discarding the elderly as if they didn't want to see them. It reminded them of what their future might be, that things don't last, that they're going, you know, that people are going to age. And it just looked like a revolt against the beauty of the aged. And I wanted to bring it back. So in the screenplay, our character is, the Neo counterpart is actually looking at his screen, and he has to have a program to age this girl he had met, to age her so as to see what she would look like now, where he had not aged in the program. And he is entranced by the look and beauty of the aging, you know, and I wrote that as a young man. So also, like you said, the nursing homes, every elderly person has a story. And as people age, I think they start to think, you know, they want to leave something behind. They want to do something like a legacy thing or something to give wisdom, encourage others. They should be allowed to do that. They shouldn't be shut away. They should be allowed to tell their stories, have their stories listened to, have some kind of value, not just brushed by and put aside and be a means to more money and inheritance. So yeah, anyway, that's the nutshell start of what I feel. There's a lot I feel, but I'll hand it back over.
I fully agree with that. I sadly never had grandparents. I knew my one grandma, and I think she passed away when I was 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. And I never had the joy of having Granny and Grandpa, who I could go and complain to, you know, about my parents or whatever. And I remember feeling quite envious of my friends at school and stuff who had grandparents and who were spending amazing holidays with them and getting these little gifts from them and presents and baking them cookies and cakes and all sorts of things like that. That for me was really something I must say I missed out on, because I think grandparents can be so nurturing and just full of spot that your parents definitely can't. Yeah, and some of the African tribes here in South Africa, and a lot of the African people, my internet is unstable, so I want to just make sure. Is my internet fine? Yeah. Okay. Like you'll see, the parents will go off to the cities generally and work and earn the money, and they'll send it home to where the children are generally being taken care of by the grandparents. And I think that's a beautiful concept, actually, because I know I've got a granddaughter, and I know I am a much better mother to my granddaughter than what I was to my son, because I had him when I was 21 years old. I was very young. Finding my way in life was like spinning out most of the time. I was a single mom. And at that stage, we didn't have, it wasn't very fashionable to be a single mom around here. And I want to tell you, I relied a lot on the help of my parents to raise my son. And he has an incredibly close relationship with my mother at this stage as well, because of the strong connection that they had. So I think that it's amazing to have grandparents and to value the elderly in those situations, in every situation. But just to, they've got wisdom, more patience, more understanding, more everything, I think, than what a young person has. I mean, it's in our blood as a young person generally to want to go out and achieve and make your mark in life, and do the things you need to do, I think. And very often your children are the ones who pay the price for that, right? So I think grandparents are such a gift, and they should be treasured every inch of the way. That's my opinion on the matter.
Renee.
Yeah, they walked a longer road, and being human is not easy. We all have our struggles, we all have our weaknesses. We can be as tough as we think we are and hide away as much as we want to think we are. But I mean, they deserve the respect and the honor. They really got the age, I can remember when my mom told me, you understand when you're old, and I'm like, no, I understand now. And as I got older and older, you realize there's things that your parents taught you, and your grandparents even. And I mean, if I just look at my grandma, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have the faith I have today. She had this unbelievable, beautiful faith in God, and I got it from her. And which is really funny for me, it's like the two most precious things for me in the world is the children and the elderly. And they're the two ones that gets abandoned from an early age. So the children goes to the kindergarten where they get like early programming, and the grandparents, they get dropped off at the nursing home where they get abandoned and get fed up with medicine. It's like we abandon these things when in fact I see those two groups being together. The grandparents should be the kindergarten teachers, or not kindergarten teachers, but like, the caregivers, while the parents go out and hunt, it's like all the rural Bushmen, they did it like that. It's like the parents had to go gather and hunt. The grandparents were the ones that were teaching the kids about wisdom and knowledge and everything, The grandparents stayed at home in the tribe, they looked after the kids and everything. The young ones, the grown-ups, they were supposed to just gather and protect and feed and stuff like that. So it's amazing that now in today's society, we've lost that completely. It's now, those two worlds are separate. The kids are there, grandparents are there, and the parents are also on their own. So I find that interesting if we look at how life is right now, upside down.
Yeah, and also in the past, it was like, it seemed people would talk with respect towards their parents and their grandparents. There'd be respect instilled. And nowadays, a lot of times you hear people complaining about the grandparents or the elderly. They complain about it, and their kids will join the complaining. And it's just like in my family, it's just insane. Aiden had the same situation, Chantelle, that you had, where out of necessity, he was living with his dad, me, and his grandma and grandpa. And so that became an amazing journey under great stress. I mean, we had SWAT team coming to the home and Center for the Elderly, Child Services called all the time because of the game that's being played at the high level stakes because of what our material's worth. But what's interesting is I think Aiden will never forget that experience. And on Maui, they had an organization, an elderly place, Center for the Elderly, where they actually purposely mixed in a preschool. And so they became grandparents for the preschool kids, and that was part of their education. They learned with the elderly of the nursing home there. Wow. What a great experiment, and what a great thing they did. And so I have my tour shirt on that I made when I made our touring company, theater company, Heart Tours. And one of the things the other side was mocking, but we did shows as my company at that place. And it was really a joy to go there and put our show on for the elderly and the children, just like you said, Monet.
Wow, that's pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an experiment, Tom? That they were experimenting? What was the reason they did that? I'd be interested to know, because that could be a beautiful concept.
Oh, yeah.
To introduce more commonly into the world and society today. Wow.
I think so too. I called it an experiment. I don't know what they called it, but the lady who ran it was very, very sweet and booked us and everything, and was just really kind-hearted. And I got to talk to her about her philosophy behind everything, and it was just spot on, in my opinion, as somebody who, like Renee, we love children, we love the elderly. And but I didn't see it anywhere else on the islands. As I did all these different tours for different schools, different places, I never saw anything else like it. So, in Hawaii, there's a deep tradition of grandparents respected, parents, and basically everybody, if you're friends of the family, you're an uncle and auntie, uncle and auntie. I was always Uncle Tom when I toured, Uncle Tom's coming. So every kid that we went to do at any school, it was Uncle Tom coming to perform with the troupe. And I liked that. I thought it was really nice. So, I didn't see it anywhere else.
I think there's so much value in that, in having that kind of respect. Definitely. I'm brought up old school as well. Mm-hmm. It's uncle and auntie. Mm-hmm. We didn't ever call anyone by their first names, anyone that was older than, I think, about 10 years. Everyone that was like 10 years older than you was uncle and auntie, mm-hmm. It was unusual to have, I think my one uncle's wife, second wife, she insisted we didn't call her auntie. She just wanted to be called by her first name, okay. Which then we were already teenagers, so it was kind of different. Mm-hmm. But it's that value of respect says a lot, because honestly, I think we've lost so much of that in our society nowadays. We really have, when we look at sadly the youth of today, who are mostly into their technology and their iPhones, whatever it is, their iPads, their screens and stuff like that. So that value, that connection, that human connection, from what I'm seeing, has definitely dwindled somewhat. And it would be really good to get that back, that back in our society, where we understand the value of that. I mean, I just look at my granddaughter. I have so much fun with her. Oh. I really, really do. We have I love creativity. So for me, I live far away from her. So I will regularly send her stuff or get her mom to buy her stuff, paintings, artwork, creative stuff, you know, and then she paints. I mean, like you've got a picture there. She's painted me. I've bought, I don't know how many of her portraits already or her pictures. I said, she'll show me, Granny, look what I made. And, you know, everything's on canvas and paint and stuff. And then I go, I'm buying that. I'm buying that. How much? How much? How much? And then whenever I pay her, it's like getting stacked there. Then she goes and buys more materials. And so, you know, it's just that, and really, modern technology is wonderful in the sense now, you know, that we get to Zoom each other and stuff like that. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that connection with a young person, you know, and your grandchild and stuff. And I got to tell you, I'm really sad because I had an initiative here that we were starting with Sun Kids stuff in December, is to adopt a grampy. And I went twice, and I was supposed to go last weekend. In fact, this past weekend again. And I was told that I can't go back because my methods that I use are not Christian.
Oh my.
Yeah, can you believe it? There are old people there. It's like a hospice. And I'm not allowed to go back because I'm not Christian.
You know, you've hit something I think that needs to be pointed out, that in our society today, it's almost like Germany in World War II. We have people that now have the power, Joe Schmo, anybody, Joette Schmo, they can raise a complaint or they can start a suspicion and the authorities will respond. It's like we're such in a paranoid state where people who want power can raise a fuss about nothing and put the wheels in motion to disrupt and dismantle relationships, things that are good. Look how many times my sister has used, under this congressman is also FBI, how many times has she called authorities on us, and she doesn't get her way, she'll do it again and again and again. And the system's set that every time she calls, they have to come. That even on the police came on Veterans Day, when we took our dad out to dinner and came back and there were police cars, just because she has this vendetta and is working for the other side. So what I'm saying is, you just isolated for me that anybody can make a complaint. And I got a letter from Child Services in Canada where someone for the other side, Hollywood groups and things, FBI, they can have somebody, Joe Schmo, make some kind of statement, and here's a letter saying they are coming because someone complained. Anybody can complain. We're living in a very police state, paranoid society of people who, if they want the power and they want to feel important over others, we've given them the wheels to do it. Where in the past, I think a lot of times we were more family-centered. The elderly, I think the reason elderly are being stripped away from us is because some of these nursing homes actually have, they explain it to me with my cousin, that they don't inform the patient to be. What they do is they tell the children to tell them that we're taking them out to dinner. They'll have the room all set up for them. And they come from their home thinking they're going out to dinner with their family, with their children, which what grandparent wouldn't want to. And they end up in a nursing home, dropped off. Surprise, here's your place now. Then they sell the home, divide the property, and they're shut away. They were betrayed. The last act, really, that meant something was betrayal under the guise of going out to dinner. And these business people at these nursing homes are advocating this. They say they advocate it as a sweet way to get them to come, and they'll like it when they get here. I told my cousin, she's into Scientology and with the other family trying to set up these 302s. I'm the one that said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to lie to my aunt. I don't want to lie to her. They put her away anyway. My other aunt, they put her away too. The Swigerts put her away, took over her home. And then it's just, you know, then token visits where they're supposed to feel grateful for it. We are living in a terrible time. I'm glad we brought this topic up because the state is dismantling the family. And one of the first things they can do is take us, the beautiful relations, away from us with our elderly.
That is so true, because that is exactly, you know, when we're looking at what the Rockefellers were doing in the 60s with their women's lib movement. It was really to break up the family and get the kids away from their parents so that they could start programming the kids from a much younger age. And it's the same thing now with the elderly. The elderly really, honestly, they should be living with us. You know, and yes, unless of course there is something seriously, what have you, you need a qualified person if there's a serious issue, you know, to take care of or nurse or whatever. But I think there's a plan that can and should be made. But it's true what you say, because it's really part of breaking down or breaking up that family structure where you are no longer having the old people within the home. And aren't they like the storytellers? They're like the storytellers, you know. I mean, I remember listening to stories of when they were at war, you know, and what happened. And when they walk, you know, you always got to hear about how far they walk to school and how lucky we are that we have cars and stuff, you know. So it's wonderful to actually imagine what they must have gone through, you know, in sort of those pre-times, pre-modern technology. I mean, my son couldn't believe that we didn't have cell phones, you know. It was like, what did you use, you know? I mean, we had these hello.
And then people can also connect to the line.
Exactly. And then,
no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. One's listening on the other one's conversation.
Yeah.
That's what you know, I was thinking about, you know, like the library of memories, and that's what's now big in Hollywood films and stuff. But in the screenplay was the idea of the library of memories, where we can live the memories of elderly ancestors and see through their eyes and feel what they feel at different ages. And that would lock us into a beautiful thing. That's what the Neuralink was supposed to also be involved in. Whether they give it to Elon Musk to take it that direction, I don't know. They probably will, because I've said it before and it's in the screenplay work. They keep imitating it. But that was the idea, to live in the shoes and feel the feelings that your ancestors felt. Wouldn't that be amazing? One of the greatest things I felt was when my one grandfather, I recorded him for a school project. And so I recorded him and asked him what his earliest memories were and some significant moments in his life. That's a treasure tape now. As a treasure tape. And it was like seeing through his eyes as a very young person. And it was like, wow. And that's what prompted me to put into my own screenplay, Begin the Matrix story. It's like that idea of the memories of the elderly. And then that's why the little girl at the end pointing the sun is actually the little girl is restored to a young little girl again after she was elderly. So that's what was really cool, is that she becomes a little girl again with her daddy.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. So it's like, there's so much I want to bring back, but a lot of it is dealing with the elderly, seeing the elderly for, like we talked about, their memories, see them as what they were like when they were a young person, very young. That's a fun thing to tap into and learn from grandparents. You know, what was it like when you were a child? What did you feel? What did you want to be? What were experiences that you had? And the whole door opens up, like you said, with storytelling, memories. And when they relay something that meant something so much to them, all the passion, all the feeling can resurface again, where you're living a moment with them, one of the most important moments. And that's what led to the whole Jackson Neck and everything else.
It's absolutely true.
That's beautiful.
Which also, you know, I mean, it brings to mind now this whole topic, if you will, of growing old with grace. Because when we're looking at today's society, and especially Hollywood being as big as what it is, the entertainment industry, models, magazines, all of these things being as out there as what it is, you know, there's a whole narrative, if you will, I don't know if that's the right word here, of staying young, you know, and how to stay young, you know, all the lotions and potions that you can possibly imagine putting on your face, or all the pills you can drink to stay young. I mean, plastic surgeons must be of the most wealthiest people out there at this point in time, because they've got so much business, because someone's not happy with the wrinkles on their face or the fat on their belly or whatever it might be, you know. So the vanity that we have, this fear of growing old. So I would like to actually address that, because I think, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing more amazing than growing old with grace. And I'm not saying you've got to now become, just because you hitting 60, 70, 80, whatever, you've now got to be walking around, tottering around on a walking stick. No, I think to stay healthy and to have a healthy lifestyle, to eat healthy foods, to get enough exercise, to breathe, to do whatever it is that makes you feel good, because I think feeling good is essential. Anyone knows when you're riddled with pain and anxiety and stress and this wrong and that wrong, that's no fun to live. But I think to grow old with grace and to grow old with a healthy mindset. I mean, I look at my mom, she's 82. You would never say that. She's the most, I'm not going to say red-pilled, blue-pilled person I know.
Thank you.
Totally awake and very, you know, wise when it comes to her life. And she has 6 kids, 14 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren. And it is such a beautiful, I mean, every one of them absolutely adores her. She's fit, she's healthy, she's on the ball, you know, and she's awake and alive. And I think that, for me, is such a beautiful example to follow. She's always taken care of her appearance. She's always taken care of her skin. She's always taken care of her hair. And you always see her with painted nails and stuff. So it's never, I think when we grow old, we don't have to let ourselves go. We have to accept that as an older person, of course, we get wrinkles. And of course, our hair grows gray. And of course, we're not going to have the body and the boobs that we had when we were 16 years old. It's about accepting the wisdom. I mean, when I turned 50, for me, that was the most awesome day, because 50 to me equaled wisdom. You know, I kind of got to play in another league now. So even though I'm certainly not 30, and I wouldn't want to be, because my son is 35, I don't want to be competing with my 35-year-old son at all. You know, definitely not. But it's really cool to feel youthful, still do my yoga practice every day, be strong and healthy, and have a good mindset, enjoy wearing makeup and painting my nails, whatever it is, you know. So that's what I'm saying. We don't have to stop these things, but we sort of evolve with who we are. We evolve with our consciousness. That, for me, is such a beautiful thing, where you do get to be healthy enough to speak to your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, you know, and you share your stories of your life. And like, I mean, Alika, my granddaughter, will say to me, Granny, what did you do when you were my age? Where were you? You know? And I would go, gosh, you're 7 or 8 now. Wow, that's what I was doing. And I was doing this and this and this. And she sits and she's in fits of giggles, because she can't imagine that she would ever be doing those things. So it really is a beautiful thing. And I think that we should accept the fact that as human beings, we age. We should stop giving our money to plastic surgeons. We should rather use the money that we have and travel and see the world or whatever, you know, and just enjoy life. If you have so much, share it with those around you who don't have, you know. That, for me, is what it's about. My 2 cents.
I love it.
Yeah, can I add to that, Shanti? Just look at it like, I don't think it's in our nature to have that much vanity in that sense and go that, not this like we have it right now, I think this is something that was programmed as well a lot. If we know what we know now, since we started doing films, since we started doing advertisement, since the narrative started going in, they made being young beautiful and being old weak. Just as children are weak, elderly are weak. So they kept on making like it's your prime time, and that's the only thing, because they wanted working horses. Yes, of course you are in your prime time. You're a working horse. Yes, you look good. You don't want to be there because then you're useless to us. Then you don't have a part in the system. So I think that kind of programming had made people starting to believe that, you know, there's not just scared of being growing old. On top of that, then you die and you're alone and blah, blah, blah. And what's after death? So they really emphasize growing old, you're nothing. When you're young, you're nothing. It's only when you're on this stage. And I don't think we were like that in civilization. As the older we grew, and I mean, if you look at, again, go back into the ancient times, the elderly, they always grew like that, with that respect, with that, even the older people, because right now, even people that's becoming old, they didn't go through the process, you know, they're still young people scared of getting old. It's almost like they haven't captured that wisdom yet. So you get old people that's still stuck in that, you know, scared of dying. I haven't learned my lessons. So growing gracefully old, luckily you've got that. You've had the right foundation, awesome family. But a lot of people don't have that, and they're like stuck in this thing. You know, they're so scared of growing old because then you're gonna die. Then you have to face all the stuff that you haven't faced for, and it's so sad because, I mean, I can remember the other day, like a year ago, I got my first initiation of being called an uncle. You know, my first initiation. It was like these young 20-year-olds, you know, stuff like that. I was just at
Calling
first
you
was, yeah, oom.
Oom is Afrikaans for uncle. Oom.
Yeah. It's like, and I know most people will be like, oh, no, don't do that. Like, but for me, I was like, it was like funny at the moment, but then as like you said, like you got 50, it's wisdom. For me, it's like, okay, cool. Well, now they're going to take me seriously because I've been doing this work, this energy, and working with people for like many years now. Nobody took me seriously because I'm too young. So now I'm at least, I'm being taken seriously. Yeah. Still getting to the wisdom part. But yeah, that is what it means to grow old gracefully. You know, every 10 years brings something beautiful to your being, and you don't want to miss out on those things. Don't let a wrinkle stop you from missing out on learning something awesome, you know.
Exactly.
And so that's just I
love my wrinkles.
I think that
I tell you, for me, it's so nice when I look at my mirror, I go, oh, have you also joined the party? Welcome.
That's good. You know, I look at our society today, and it's like they keep using this phrase. Those that I know that have bought off in my situation, you know, to get rewards and honors from the bad side of this thing, the shallow state, they keep using the phrase success. Now they're into success and power. So something along this mentality that has been programmed, as you said, we're being programmed often, is all about success and power. And even the religious right pumps in and says, you know, if you have in our case, a beautiful wife, like Pat Robertson talked about Trump's wife. And he said, he's obviously successful because look at his wife. That's the criteria for successful. And then they'll even go so far as to say, if you're successful, you're blessed by God. And if you're not successful, then you're a wannabe and jealous. Again, that was the same person saying this. And so this twisted programming happens in different tiers of society, different areas, from what they call theology to business to entertainment. You know, it's not equal. Yeah, it still isn't equal. It's like a man is allowed to age more so than a woman often in our society. And even in the field of entertainment, dancers, basically, if you're not making it by 20 something, your career's over. And they say, you know, and as far as what you have to have in order to make it, if you're a female. And I was learning that the casting couch was something where even parents in Hollywood pushed their daughters to do. And it was understood that that's how you get ahead. I've been in the entertainment business, and I've seen that this casting couch stuff, all this stuff about pedophilia, it exists, runs rampant. And the directors will say, as I heard from one of my directors said, we just want our actors to be happy. And so they'll even hook up these. So this idea of it's gone perverse where extreme youth is being sought and elderly pushed out, where it's actually going to the extreme of underage. And my brother's guilty of that. And, on these trips he takes, and he takes pictures of these underage girls, even in bikinis under the water, as a youth leader. And he claims to be a good Christian guy. It's like, and everybody looks the other way. They're doing the evidence in broad daylight. But in the entertainment industry, it is so rampant. So there's another problem for the elderly situation, because they're going extreme to the youth situation. And there's this idea that if you're not beautiful, then you're not blessed by God. If you're not beautiful, then you're not someone who's successful. And all the products my sister spends on, spray on tans, everything else. And I'm like, spray on tan, does it protect your skin? No. I just don't want, my skin's too light. It's like, whoa, where are you getting all the money for all this stuff? But it's like, wow. I just, and then the jealousy and envy if you actually age gracefully.
Yeah.
But one of the secrets to aging gracefully, I would say, is not having regrets, not giving situations where you would have regrets, not living a life of lies. And it's interesting that those that in my situation were bought, they go to the talking point, they'll always say, it's all lies. If someone's saying it's all lies on any topic, that means they're trying to do a coverall to protect themselves. They're guilty of lies. They're trying to cover themselves by saying, whatever they say, it's all lies, because they know they're going to be caught so many different ways. That's why they say that phrase. It's been on my mind lately. But, anyway, I've gone a lot of tangents we interwoven in there, a lot of layers in that one. But the idea is, if you're true to yourself, honest with yourself and others, if you can trust yourself, then others can trust you. But first you have to be able to trust yourself, honestly trust yourself. Then you don't have regrets. Well, your body's not going to age so rapidly, I think, if you don't have regrets. I think regrets is what really causes the body to accelerate the aging process, because it's going to turn into. Anyway, I'll pass it back.
I so agree with you. It's really just about, for me, it's about enjoying your life, having fun, and not in a frivolous way. I think life is such a beautiful journey. We understand it's about having ups and downs, winding roads, and sometimes, a lot of the time, doing some hectic spiritual 4x4ing, so we got to go off the beaten track, and we got to strengthen our spiritual muscles, if you will, by being off the beaten track and discovering stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily discover while you're walking the straight and narrow type thing. And what is the straight and narrow anyway? It's someone else's opinion of what you should be doing. So it's about exploring who you are, your consciousness, It's about feeling healthy. It's about knowing what works for you. It's about being comfortable in your skin. And truly, when you are comfortable in your own skin, you are automatically a healthy, successful person. To me, that's what success is. Success is not how much money do you have, because invariably, when you have all this money, you've compromised a lot of other things in your life as well. I'm not saying that's always the case, but very often that is the case. So what are your relationships like? What are your friendships like? What legacy do you leave behind? What are people going to be remembering you for once you've crossed over and left the earth plane? For me, that's so important. My granddaughter is mixed race. So I grew up in hectic apartheid time. When I was a teenager, I'm born in the 60s. There was the height of apartheid, when I was in the 80s, it was hectic. There was like just craziness going on, you know. So the way I see it, she is so blessed to have both sides of the coin, to have the African side as well as the Caucasian or the European side, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So to understand life from both sides, and she's enriched, her spirit is enriched with both of that. Mm-hmm. Now, when the time comes, I will have these conversations with her, and I will tell her exactly what it was like and how it was, and for the white people as well as the African people in this country at the time. She has both of that. So what does she do? Who does she choose? What does she choose? She's both, you know? And I think that is such a beautiful thing. For me, I've often thought about how that's going to be. That's going to be one of the conversations we have in a few years' time, you know, when she gets a little bit older. And that she's going to be able to tell her children one day. For me, that is a beautiful thing, to be open and honest and to share these stories and to share these experiences with our kids and really enrich them with our knowledge. And I really think for me, that is amazing. So to be able to pass these things on to our children and our grandchildren, not be worried about what do we look like and how many gray hairs do I have and how much filler do I need and do I have enough money to go for my Botox or whatever. You know, for me, it's like not at all. You know, it's the richness of how you've lived your life, the legacy you leave behind. I know, I mean, for example, the book I've written, the Sun Kids stuff that we're doing now, you know, the teaching, she sat in on our first international workshop the other day. You know, we had this on Zoom, and there she was, you know, and it was just amazing that she was there. It was for me, that was such a beautiful moment, because the book finished we got it onto the shelves 21st of December 2012. And on March 2013, she was born. So that book came exactly in time for her. So she will know her grandma created that for her. And her grandma had a desire to show children a different life, a different way of being, because her grandma was a misunderstood child. And I do not want children to feel misunderstood when they have gifts and they have ideas that don't necessarily run with the normies. Right. But she will know that's what her grandma had, and that's what her grandma stood for. And she will know that her granny did what she needed to do to expose the horrors of child trafficking. She will know that. And that for me is what gives me the richness of growing old. And that's the legacy I would like to leave behind for her and any other future grandchildren I might have. For me, that's what it is.
It's all about leaving a story. It's all about storytelling, leaving the best story. I believe like the Matrix, or like I believe, like you said, talked about the collective memories of the ancestors. I totally believed in that. Even before I even knew about any of this stuff or collective consciousness, a young boy, I was doing art. And I would see something on TV or something and would feel like they stole my idea. I just drew that. How can that be on TV? How can that be? So I had from an early age, I had this feeling that we are collectively, there's like a collective mind. If you have an idea, it's out there or whatever. So I always had that feeling. And oh no, I've lost my train of thought with that. But
your idea.
I was just like, there is that collective thing, and no, I forgot. I was like, I wanted to say something about your granddaughter now, and then I remembered about the collective. But yeah, it's all about the storytelling. You know, it's about leaving a story. And I believe as one day as souls, we can always go back to everybody's stories and go watch it like on a movie. You know, it's there, you can watch it on a movie. And it's our duty to leave a story on this planet that everybody wants to go rewatch. we can go leave a story. And the stories, and it's not, if you look at stories, it's not about the heroes that make big things. The most beautiful stories is these ordinary families and what happens in that family relationships. It's like how they teach each other, how they, that moment when that child feels vulnerable, or granny comes in and lifts them up, or dad protects the family. That's the kind of stories that's beautiful. It's not this big thing that you have to change the world. A legacy is not just about that. It's about leaving a legacy to the people that you've came in contact with. Your family, children, grandchildren, and they will make an even bigger legacy out of that. You know, become the next president. Alika, I hope you got the next president.
You know,
Chantelle.
You just surfaced something for me that I think is really important also, is fear is rampant, obviously, we can all agree, in our society, and it's there on purpose by design. If children see their grandparents ripped away, deceived into homes, does that not create some level of fear that they too may someday experience that?
Abandoned.
It's like we're fostering a fear existence based on fear. And that is what this other side is doing, shallow state. And it's like, we can win by establishing really good family structures. Look at my situation where the family is ripped apart. Aiden does not have cousins that'll talk to him. In fact, one of the cousins just appeared on my site offering a friend request, no message. When I sent a message back, no reply. She had done it before on my Twitter account, friend request, and then as soon as she accepted and said, thank you, no reply, then she cut the friend. What she's doing is working for her parents to scout my site and see what's there. The children are being employed to do dirty work. That's really sad. And so they become pawns in the chess game for both parents. In my situation, that's what we experience. So Aiden has no family except the public that actually becomes, and you know, leaves a comment for his videos. He is a student, thriving, and he still has his grandma, but they won't let us go see her. We're cut off. We'll be put away. I'll be ripped away from him with a 302 because my sister is saying that I'm going to shoot her, which I'm not going to do, and saying that I claimed that I was suicidal to her over and over. I never did, but that's working for this Brian Fitzpatrick and for this congressman who's also FBI. That's how far they go. We are in a police state. So how do you beat that system? Form family. And if your family's ripped away like mine is, bought off, and my poor mom is all that's left, my dad was just killed, you know, killed by my sister and my brother, starved to death because they became his POA. That's the extreme end of this. The state wants to disrupt families. Religious right wants to disrupt families. The school system takes children away from the family, as you said, Renee, and programs them at an early age. That's why I came up with the whole idea of the Neuralink and the internet. Yes, I did, and pitched it at Millersville University to visiting California professors from Silicon Valley in 1980. So Windows, I described it so Bill Gates and those guys, yeah, they lifted it right off my work, which progressed into the Matrix story. Sounds wild, but wouldn't it make sense? These are progressions. And the idea was we'd be learning from home as a family unit. And they were thrilled about the idea as Windows and the computer system, but they didn't want that relationship. They didn't want that happening. I was trying to set it that family could exist, more family time, more time away from even school. Schools would be a thing of the past. We can learn from your home and have social structure, more family structure. And really what instilled that in me was watching the Waltons, growing up watching the Waltons. And lo and behold, talk about synchronicities, I ended up at Grandpa Walton's theater. Ellen Geer is Grandpa Walton, Will Geer's granddaughter or daughter. And she's the one that cast me in Hollywood to work with Tom Hanks, Ron Howard, all that stuff. And so that was what has happened. I ended up with actually the Waltons family. So there's something. But that model on TV showed the grandparents with the family, celebrated. Even the one grandmother has a stroke at one point, still part of the family, not shut away. And it reached me. It really did reach me. And so we can, through entertainment, make a difference. We really can. And like the documentary we're working on, we can make a great difference through these mediums still. Even though the deep state, shallow state thinks they have control of it through the FBI in Hollywood, they think they have the control. And one of the things they made clear, which our elderly suffering from, often the target of spam things and things like this, is that really who controls Hollywood and who controls the FBI and who controls these other groups? The banks. And they made that clear through the Hollywood. I was watching Game of Thrones, and they made it very clear in it. It is the banks that control, without heart, everything. And these Hollywood groups, these FBI groups, none of these groups could work if the bank doesn't sanction them. It's the banks that really run the wars. It's the banks that profit off the wars. It's those invested in these banks. And the main bank that controls our world is the Bank of England. I like to say, as a Swiss-bred person, that we are Swiss. No, it's the Bank of England, connected to America and Jekyll Island with the Federal Reserve. So there you have the enslavement of humanity, and there you have the people that are calling the shots in cold ways. It's no mistake that my sister is now immediately after a divorce, right, with the family that's connected to the top of Bank of America. So that is the next play. That would be the top. She wants power and success. That would do it. So I'm seeing all this stuff where wherever I'm involved in these Hollywood situations, here's Capital One, here's Bank of America, they're always there. And the one gentleman who called me, offering me to have, like, you know, a boat, a home. It was a Hollywood offer to be a script doctor and have everything I need, be set up in Hollywood. He told me, he said, you know, Tom, it's not Hollywood that's been the bad guys to you. It's been those that are above Hollywood and above these other organizations of the state. And it's the bank, and it's in England. Isn't that something? There's your real key. They don't want to be known. They don't want to be seen by the man behind the curtain. But when it comes down to it, it's nothing really spooky. It's nothing like Illuminati, things like this. No, it is what they call themselves, the elite. It is those that have the purse strings and the money. And what's interesting about this system that's pointed out is they will play the winning side. And therefore, as I start to win more and more, I become of interest to them as the winning side. So their loyalties will switch to whoever's the best bet financially. That's how we can, that's the game that's in front of us now. And that's partly why our elderly are suffering. It is financial reasons the elderly are being shut away. And the young people like my brother, are not young now, middle-aged people like my brother and sister, you know, in their 50s now, 60s now, putting away the parents, and in my case, killing my dad for the finances, making themselves POA. It's about the money. It's about the money. So now we know how our world's operating right now. In the future, we won't have this system. We're going to get rid of the monetary system. And as a writer, I was putting out there, which they were borrowing, I'll say, the idea that in the future, currency will be our longevity. Currency will be our compassion. Currency will be our artistic values, things like that. That's how we'll be rated, not monetarily. The money system is going to go out the door. You will see money in museums in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Money will go, but there will be a currency, and the currency will be completely different. It's going to be a balance. We're all going to have to live in balance. And that means we all have to give from that authentic, creative place. And we also have to allow to receive from others. So it's going to be like this currency where we just are we are, and we give back to society what we can give. And it's all about just expanding our energies. And that's going to be the abundance. And there's going to be so much abundance. And then we'll all just do what we need to do. If you like growing plants, and you're like creating buildings, and you're like whatever. And if we all just stay true to ourselves, to our own currency and our own balance.
That's it.
So
I had a wake up dream one time. Like, dreams can speak to us, as we know. I'll call it a wake up dream. It sounds like an oxymoron, but I was in a dream where I was in a circle of people I never met. We had all passed on, and it was a beautiful setting. And I was asked in that circle, "Who are you, Tom? Who are you?" And I started to describe what I did in life. He said, "No, who are you, Tom?" And I was like, and it took me back. I'm like, well, I was a father. No. What they wanted to know was, what were the feelings that were core in me? What were the things that my heart felt resonated most with? What drew me most in the area of compassion and feeling? And it was like, I was a fish out of water. I couldn't answer their question because at that point I hadn't lived that way. And that dream caused me to reshape my foundations and reshape them and go, okay, I need to live where I actually feel compassion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know I feel it. And that's so funny. The other side is trying to say, through my sister now, narcissist, evil, bipolar, whatever. No, I'm the one that's healthy in the family. I don't get depressed. I bounce back. And they're the ones that are on pills for depression. The ones that are doing the have the symptoms are the ones accusing the ones that don't. And can I point something else too for our elderly? And for one of the biggest problems in our society is the psych field. The psych field is now the arm of the shallow state. The psych field is now showing up with police, and actually police departments are having psych departments with them to rubber stamp people away. So they found a system to shut our elderly away and also to take away healthy, providing individuals, ripping families apart by if you're actually going to care, they can take you away, rip you apart with a psych field. Psych has become the muscle of shallow state, where you can be put away without process. And what happens when you're put away? How many times they yanked me away from my poor son, and kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And they have their meetings, just like they did with the elderly. To put the elderly away, they'll meet with a meeting where you're not informed, agree to invite you to a dinner, to have you hauled off and shut away for life, even though you're not elderly, under the guise of all kinds of psych things that they're going to claim. What's interesting is when you're in the psych area, like I've been hauled off how many times? Why? Because they said, because you think you wrote the Matrix. Really? I got the copyright and everything. I'm the one that actually submitted it to Bonaventura. And that's what they're going to say. In fact, Rockefeller's group at Colonial Williamsburg, Pamela, I forget her last name, but she was saying to me at Human Resources, mocking me, going, "You still think you wrote the Matrix?" Last thing she said to me after she screwed me there. And so what they do with these places is they'll say, sleep deprivation is where they'll lock you away. But what they do is every half hour, they come by, open each person's cell or door, shine a flashlight in their face, every half hour. What are you doing to our people who may or may not be suffering from some mental illness? And isn't it interesting, those that try to put the good people away are the ones that are seeing therapists all the time as their confessors and are on medication. In my sister's case, for what? Bulimia, severe depression. Well, don't empower these people to play the judgment card on others, because they're going to continue to do it because they want to feel better about themselves. So they're going to act on others often. But that's a lot. But one of our biggest problems in our society today is the psych field. It should be dismantled and re-examined. How many people who are considered successful brag about seeing their therapist? If you had really good family situations again and put your elderly back in your homes, I think maybe if we followed what was done for eons, maybe you wouldn't need the therapist so much. I mean, it's like, how many people are taking the pills, Prozac, everything else? For what? And now my sister pops the pills as a unlicensed school counselor at elementary school. For the kids, always Ritalin, just pops it to them. Is that helping those children? You're raising children to have medication right up to elderly. And how many elderly have this pill, this pill, this pill, this pill, this pill, this pill? And all these pills have side effects. So our society needs a deep overhaul, obviously.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Taking care of the elderly would be a good place to start. Let's value them. Let's take some of this medication away. Let's stop conditioning them to think they're supposed to, like you said, hobble around. When I would see my dad, we'd be like almost jogging. Let's go, Dad. Yeah, yeah. And when my sister would show up, it's like, here, Dad, let's go now. Walking him really slow, and he'd play the part. He was just moving really well with me. But as soon as she showed up, she had him conditioned to hobble and move real slow. Almost like the guy in Game of Thrones with a beard, the white beard, who just, pretended to hobble. Yeah. Anyway.
I think it's
Yeah,
honestly,
I agree.
Carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree. I want to say start with both the elderly and the kids.
Yes.
Because you have to get that bridge back again. So help the elderly, bring them back, show the kids that we respect them as still the kids that's now, and show the kids that they don't need medicine because most of their problems is emotional. So as a parent, stop giving them a pill. Ask them what's going on because mostly the tummy ache, it's just a worry or they're picking up the stress of the family. Mm-hmm. So that's what the Sun Kids is, Chantelle, and that we've been creating right now. It's about teaching kids how to deal with their emotions and get into alignment because then you don't get sick. Most of children's problems are the parents' problems. It's the chaos in the homes and kids don't get the tools of how to deal with these stuff. Mm-mm. So imagine that for so many years and then you become old. So we have to start with both. We have to look at the elderly, bring them back and show the kids how they don't need to get to that place as well. It's like we can't just start with the one and leave the other. We have to take them both. Right. And that's I think the easiest way to heal generations of programming.
Well, that's generations. You're absolutely right. We need to get these psych people like my sister out of these schools. It's okay to have counselors. Don't have these psych people, especially unlicensed psych people that have rage problems, that are bulimic, that pop pills like crazy to the kids and have depression severe. She was on the floor in her office, curled up in the fetal position, raging. That's what she told my mom. What is she doing at that school, Rolling Meadows? What is she doing there with these elementary school kids? But this is a widespread problem with these psych people now in the schools allowed to influence our children and put them on medicine. Get them out. Get the psych people out of the elementary schools. Get them out. They're not doing any good. They do not belong there. Elementary kids don't need them. Don't need them. And don't be putting these children on. If we were out in the prairies back in the pioneer days and a child was running around and being active, we'd say, oh, what a blessing from God. These days, if they're running around, they're active. Oh my God, they're hyperactive. Oh my God, they're ADD. Oh my God, they're kids. They're kids.
Exactly.
Could you imagine pioneers putting their kids on Ritalin because they're playing in the prairie? My God. Or Little House on the Prairie, which is my sister's favorite shows that turned. Little House on the Prairie. Could you imagine if that show was reconstituted with Ritalin put in? What's his name? Michael Landon? Okay, well, here you go. You got to take your Ritalin today so we can go out and, do the crops.
Ride a horse.
Yeah, ride the horse. Give the horse Ritalin too, because Julie said so. Obviously it's stressed. He's so sick of it because the psych field's all based on opinion. It's all based on opinion. We spent a fortune basically to try to counter this stuff. The FBI and everything was doing, Hollywood. So I got tested, got these great reports, all these tests and everything that said Tom is completely gifted genius. He is extremely empathetic. You know what my sister did with those reports? Tore them up. You can't do that. And then in Game of Thrones, they have the redhead queen, and Tyrion Lannister says, "You've perfected the art of tearing things up." Yeah,
Wow.
I really do believe after the birthmark and everything else that Cersei's modeled after my sister, and I'm not making that up. The redhead queen that rages, and I've been researching this stuff too, and it's just like, wow, okay, it's like, wow. So my family is top of the radar on what's going on. Even Joel Silver, when he did Oblivion, put Jack and Julia as lead characters' names after he ripped us off after the case was thrown. Did Oblivion, held by Disney, and there is Jack and Julia lead characters. And so it's like they just keep doing it over and over and over again. It's a joke, big joke in the industry, the 7/2s on the clock, everything else. But yeah, even the girl that I was with, engaged to, that was at the Bonaventura pitch session, in Bonaventura's Transformer films, he's the producer for Transformers, he puts the submarine Topeka. The girl that pitched with me to him was Otika. It's like he just doesn't stop. And then the scales in the Transformers shows 7/2 on the scale, and then the backwards is 7/2. Again, 7/2 my birthday. So it is the biggest joke in Hollywood right now is my family. It's like it is. And bloodlines are big to them. But my dad is dead, and I'm glad we raised this topic because we got to save our elderly. The first ones that are going to suffer. And I like what you said, Mornay, about children and the elderly. We got to save them both, because the first ones that suffer when our neocons are wanting to go to war and create trauma to make profit off of with Albert and all these others like BlackRock. Remember the name BlackRock? That is a big problem in our day right now. That's, again, the banks have become BlackRock, and they're connected to Disney and Warner Brothers. Yeah, they do joint ventures. BlackRock is the monster of our day. And that is all about financing. And watch what happens to the elderly and the children when they get their wheels rolling. They're the first to go because they don't think they'll be profitable to them in our society.
Well, I think they are probably the most rich in our society. They're rich in spirit, and that's what we should be looking at as different richness.
Amen.
That would be wise. That would be wise.
If we get our film made the way it was originally written, you'll see the elderly honored. And isn't that something they took that out? That's what they took out, where the elderly are honored and the children are valued. The little girl is the one that makes the satisfying ending and makes it happen. The Wachowskis said the little girl in the Matrix was just a subplot. No, the little girl in the Matrix makes a satisfying ending, but they didn't want that relationship. They didn't want a love relationship, central sympathetic character, or the family relationships. They didn't want it. So they stripped it out of the work and put it in a Matrix without it. We make the film the way it was originally written, copyrighted before the Matrix. You'll see these relationships back in, whereas Mornay said, children and elderly matter.
Yeah,
they do. That's going to be cool. So that's the battle, whether the film is made or not. And what does it come down to? Finances again. So we're going to help our elderly. They're going to be valued, and we will have a library of memories in the future. And hopefully I'll get my invention back from Elon Musk, who's a Hollywood plant. He is groomed by Warner Brothers, Disney, them. That's why he's in like I said, Iron Man. So, and people are learning it more and more. He's not this genius. He is a plant groomed to be there, just like Zuckerman. They are plants to take credit for the inventions that are in the work.
Yeah.
But if we get to get credit back for our work, like the Neuralink, watch what we can do with the library of memories, and Mornay, the dream will come true.
And therefore, we should value our elderly. For those of us who have grannies and grandpas and great grandmas and what have you, and have the opportunity of spending some time with them, that would be a very enriching experience, I do believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ask them about their youngest years. Ask them about what it was like when they were a child and what meant the most to them. And if they permit you, record it. Make a recording of it. It is a treasure.
That's beautiful. Great idea. Great idea. Record that. Absolutely.
Ask them to tell you stories.
Yeah, so we'll learn some very cool stories, definitely. Make movies out of those, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I was saying. I'd love to go to nursing homes after you get through this ordeal. If I survive this ordeal, because I got the FBI sights on me so bad, I can't tell you how many times I've been hauled off and ripped away from Aiden. And look what they did to my family with the rewards and everything, like the floor of Congress, my sister, everything. But what I want to do is go to the nursing homes and get stories with permission of the families and the elderly. Let's collect it. I mean, the Brothers Grimm did it. Let's go collect stories. Even if it's just short stories of what was your most cherished moments. What would you want to pass on?
Yeah.
Give the elderly the chance to share their moments and what meant most in their life. They are the treasures that need to be preserved and shared. Let's have a library of it. And then everybody gets to be legacy. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, instead of a family tree, we can look at family stories, family legacies. Yeah.
Great idea. Thank you, Tom. Great convo. Love this tonight. And as you're absolutely right, kids and elderly, they rock. So let's just treasure our grannies and grandpas and great aunties and uncles. See if we can make a difference in their lives, bring some cheer in, listen to their stories, record them. And let's see where that goes. I look forward to that. Thank you, guys and girls, for watching another episode of Solutions on Aquarius Rising Africa. Thank you, Tom, for joining us tonight on our baby channel. Look forward to having you back again. See you on Tuesday, no doubt, on Aquarius Rising Africa. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. If you haven't already, give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Leave us some comments. And we'll see you very soon again. Take good care.